Oh, Louise has got a spreadsheet. She's not afraid to use it. So we've had the question come in, why on earth are we drying off 20 odd cows when it's a $7.30 payout and we've got heaps of time to put weight on? And one thing that I've learned over the last few years is there's never enough time to put weight on cows, especially not on your rising 3-year-olds. They just take forever, still growing and everything. So what I've got here is a selection of their cows and how we're tracking the data. And yep, it's a whole lot of information. And yes, I'm a geek, but the principles are the same for everyone. So we've got a couple of kale cows here that we will be drying off, both mixed age. We've got a wee 2-year-old kale cow who calves, a month later than these guys, but we're drying her off as well. We've got one fodder beet cow we will dry off. I've got a fodder beet mixed age and heifer that we won't dry off, and I've got a kale mixed age and heifer that we also won't dry off. And this is Princess Betty down here for anyone who's wondering. So we've got a whole bunch of information available to us. This is the human BCSs that have been recorded, and we round those to half scores. That's the accuracy that we work through with the humans, and you can see these cows bounced up and down a little bit, this group. For those who've been paying attention, we had some cows listed as out of their mob and in the lame mob because of body condition, and we needed to have them on once a day. This is one of these cows. She was doing 1.97 milk solids on once a day at the beginning of March, and her BCS had dropped to a 3, and so it was game over at that point. You are going to the lame mob and you are going to be fully on once a day, not coming to the shed, as opposed to all the other cows that have been on once a day who just don't get milked in the afternoon but stay in their mobs. Yep. It's not perfect, but that's part of being a research farm and keeping the integrity of cows in their feed groups. But we stepped out of it, obviously, for this cow because she just had to gain some weight. And since then, she has been putting it on. We haven't had a BCS since the 18th of March because of COVID restrictions and being able to do it safely. But fortunately, we've got a really nifty D-Level BCS camera in the shed. And so that's fantastic. Now it gets really granular down to kind of 0.01 of a BCS with a cow. And we can follow a cow along. So if we pick our wee 1, 2, 3 here, she was sitting at kind of 3.5, and you can see that she's actually been gradually improving there, which is really, really neat. But if we look at this top cow here, so she was sitting at a 3.53 in January. She's come up a little bit and back a little bit, but she's really moved hardly anything. So her latest movement is 0.03 of a BCS. Wouldn't even see it for looking at her. And over the entire time from January to April, she's put on 0.11 of a BCS. She's been on once a day for most of that time. She's been on 4 kilos of in-shed feeding for most of that time, and she's put on 0.1 of a BCS in 3 months. So she's just a cow that's putting it in the vat, and she won't gain weight despite me doing everything in my power to make her. We've also got a really important thing here, which is the target. So our mixed age cows in the herd, whether they're fodder beet or kale, need to get back to a target of 5. But our 2-year-olds in the herd, so rising 3-year-olds, actually need to get back to a target of 5.5. So it's an industry guideline that's often overlooked, and it's actually really important. Our 3-year-olds, our 3-year-olds in the herd this year had the worst reproductive performance, the lowest in calf rate, highest empty rates, and we know that they didn't get to body condition score of 5.5. Some of them didn't even get to 5 again because it's so hard to put weight on them. So we know that as a group they're really at risk, and we have to be extra careful with them. So we take all of that information of when she's due to calve, what her individual body condition score and her target is, and it tells us how much BCS she has to gain. For the kale cows and the fodder beet cows, we know they don't gain weight up until the day they calve. For kales, they'll stop gaining about 30 days prior, but the fodder beet, we reckon we can get weight on them for up to about 2 weeks prior. For the kale cows, we know that we can put on half a BCS in our higher feeding regime and 0.25 of a BCS in our lower feeding regime over 2 months. So on average, we'll do a third of a BCS over a 2-month period in the kale cows. In the fodder beets, we can do almost double that. So we'll do 0.66 of a BCS over 2 months. The highs will do 0.9, the lows will do 0.5. Now again, with our feed budget, we know we've got the feed on hand to achieve these. So I've got this many days on crop for cows, therefore they're going to put on that much weight. That means they've got 47 days left before the 1st of June, and this is how much weight they have to put on. So those first 2 cows have got to put on an entire body condition score in the next 6 weeks. And bearing in mind, if we look over here over what they've been doing, and they've been on once a day and they've been on in-shed feeding the whole time, sitting around 0.1 of a BCS over 3 months, and I'm asking them to do 1 BCS in 1.5 months, it's never going to happen. And so what that all comes down to is this is how many BCSs a month are required for cows to hit their target. So it's an easy way to rank all of the cows in order. So these 2 cows here have to do 0.6 or over 0.6. This one's a 0.5. This wee fodder beet girl here is not been gaining a lot of weight until recently, but she's a 3.5 and she calves on the 14th of August, and she's quite high on the risk scale, and it's just a bridge too far that we went, actually, you're going to dry off today or tomorrow. And so we've got a couple of the other cows here aren't quite as high risk, but we need to keep an eye on them, and we get down to some here who are the next chunk down. So this information's changing week by week. So Princess Betty has had a significant BCS lift, and so her risk is a lot lower this week than it was the week before. And if we follow it through, literally, you can see, Dawn tells me off for calling it snackies, but I think it's funny. Sometimes it's snackos. There you go. This is what cows' feed was. So in February, my once a day decision for these cows was this cow needs to go on to once a day and get 4 kilos of feed. This cow was to stay on once a day and have 4 kilos feed. So these cows were already on once a day. This one got added to once a day. So February, all of March and into April, all these cows have been on once a day and on maximum snacks, and that weight gain is just not what we need. And so that's why we've made a decision to dry some cows off, because I've already deployed priority feeding, even to the fodder beets. They've been getting palm kennel. I've deployed the once a day lever, and they're not gaining the weight that they need to gain. And so the only thing we can do now is dry them off. So basically it becomes really simple. You sit there and you say, across the herd, BCS is fine, we don't have a major problem, but we do have a small group who are at risk, and if we don't do something different, we run the risk of losing them or affecting their lifetime performance out of the herd for something that we could actually have an influence on. So it might seem a little bit of an extreme decision to some until you look through the numbers, but hopefully having looked through this, you understand we know what our feed budget is and how much weight we can put on over winter. We know where cows are at the moment. We know when they're going to calve, and it's just maths at that point. So for us, we're going to have 27 cows dried off tomorrow. They are going to go onto a feeding regime the same as if they were being milked, after they've dried off, of course, and hopefully we'll get them up to, like those first two, I don't know if we'll get them there, but hopefully everyone else, we're going to make sure we get them to their target and set them up to have a cracker next spring, because this spring we lost about 15,000 milk solids with cows on once a day right through spring and up to and including mating, because they missed their BCS targets. That costs an awful lot of money, and it will cost me an awful lot more than us trying to milk these cows on for a little bit, what we'd make for milking these cows on for a little bit at the end of this season. So hopefully that answers your question. Quite a long answer. At the end of the day, if you've used all your levers and they haven't worked, you've got to do something different, and that's where we're at. So 27 cows in the grand scheme of things won't be the end of the world. And if we come down here just for fun, we've got cows that actually need to lose weight. So this cow here, we call her Dawn's Hippo, Bessie. She needs to lose 0.69 of a BCS between now and the 1st of June for her to hit her condition score target. So she's not getting any in-shed feeding. And certainly we're going to have to find a corner and put her on a diet. But, you know, every cow is considered. I'm not worried about her. It's easy to take weight off cows. I'm worried about these ones because it's really hard to put it on. And so that's a little bit about what's going on and why. Hope that helps.